Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video, the second video of today. It has been so crazy in the world of Newcastle United. I'm pretty much doing 2 videos a day at the moment. I've got a feeling that maybe now that this kind of PSR deadline transfer is coming to a close, is it? Or is it just getting started? Because technically speaking, we've just hit the 1st of July. Could we see a hell of a lot more happen? So, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that big red button. I know loads of you guys have been watching all the videos of late, and I know loads of you guys haven't hit the red button, and is it red? Sometimes it's black, sometimes it's white. Hit the subscribe button, help me try and get to that 50k mark. We are not too far away. I was on this morning to talk about the fact that Newcastle had a very busy window, bringing money in, letting go of Elliot Anderson, letting go of Jan Kuperminter. As of this morning, the news is that Newcastle have agreed with Manchester United that Ashworth will be heading out of our door and through theirs to become their new director of football. It's hoped that that will be just about enough to sort that PSR money that we needed to say that we've balanced the books. Although there are still links to maybe even letting another player go. Miggy is actually being linked to Saudi, a team in Saudi. I think it's Sky Sports who are reporting that one today. That's not massive news. I think Miggy was being linked there in January, and he didn't want to go actually, and he said he would rather stay. And I think, in fairness, I think that was somewhat disappointing for some fans. That, don't get me wrong, no one's maybe some people are actually trying to kick Miggy out of the door, but to be slightly more polite about it, Miggy's been alright, he's tried hard, and you can't always force people, but I think people would have possibly rather seen Miggy leave sooner and then maybe have kept Minty or Anderson. But anyway, it looks like Miggy is being linked to go regardless. So in terms of letting people go, we've been on the move, and I said this morning, right, we've done our job now, we've let players go, let's now get on to bringing some players in. And what happens? We signed 2 players today, and technically speaking, 3 over the last 24 hours. We have not messed around. The 1st of January, the new financial, and we're already buying players. 2 of which are goalkeepers. We've signed 2 goalkeepers in 24 hours. That's right. John Ruddy, the 37-year-old goalie of Norwich and most recently Birmingham, contract ended there, has now been picked up by Newcastle United on a free transfer. This was reported actually a couple of weeks ago, and it's not one that I actually really mentioned in my videos, because if I'm perfectly honest, I just didn't really see it happen, and it seemed like it was the idea. I mean, technically speaking, we've got 5 senior goalkeepers at the club now. Pope, Dubravka's still there, Gillespie's still there, John Ruddy's in as of today, and I've wrote it down, Vlaco Dimos. I will have to somehow learn that or find him a nickname. Vlak or Dimos, the Greek international goalkeeper that we've signed from Nottingham Forest, which is potentially thought to be a little bit of, well, if you give us 35 million for Anderson, then we'll chuck you 5 million for your 3rd choice goalkeeper, because we need a goalkeeper, or so I thought, and it's helping them out with their PSR as well. Fast forward a few hours and we've signed John Ruddy as well, so all of a sudden we've got goalkeepers coming out of our ears. I do think that spoiler there, we bought Lewis Hall. Technically was another player that we actually signed today. Obviously he's been on loan from Chelsea, but with the obligation to buy, so that was also confirmed by Newcastle today, that Lewis Hall is a Newcastle permanent player on a permanent for the cost of 28 million. But in terms of the goalkeepers, there's been heavy links with Trafford coming in from Burnley. There's even some corners of the Newcastle rumour mill trying to force that Mamadashvili. It's a strange one because, as I say, Vlak, the Greek Nottingham Forest goalie, actually when he went to Nottingham Forest, I think he went in with quite a good reputation, but he's not come out with one. He ended up being 3rd choice goalkeeper over there, so it was kind of thought that Pope would be number 1, Dubravka would leave, and Trafford would be number 2. Then Vlack will be number 3, and then Gillespie would be, there for the jokes and the lols and the organising of the nights out, I think. But it seems that wasn't enough for Eddie Howe. It's now John Ruddy as well. So it would appear that maybe Newcastle have taken a different turn. And I think what they've done, for me, is kick the can down the road for a little bit longer. And maybe that's not a bad shout, because, as I say, we want to be going out and bringing some players in this window. We've done a good job to let players go. Yes, Mamadashvili is very exciting, but God, the tournament he's had, if we actually went and pushed the ball out for someone like him, you're talking like, I don't think it's 40 million, I think it's 50, 60 million. And would you rather spend that on a goalie when, in fairness, Nick Pope was perfectly fine and was amazing until he got injured? Or do you want to go and splash money on another goalkeeper? I thought Trafford was kind of like a middle ground. It was like, we'll bring him in as number 2. He's probably not ready yet, but he can build up to that. It would appear that Newcastle are probably going to go with Nick Pope in the hope that he doesn't get injured. And then, as I say, unless Eddie Howe has the faith in our new Greek international goalie that he can be a good stand-in replacement for Pope. And then John Ruddy, he sounds great in his interview, by the way, if you've not seen it already. But he doesn't say, I'm looking forward to competing for a first-team spot. He says that he's bringing in values. He's hard-working, expects a lot of people, wants to make sure the goalkeeper... It's basically kind of bringing in... I would compare it to Gillespie in some way. Even when Gillespie was on the books, we brought Karius in, so I don't think even Gillespie really was ever kind of in the forefront. So it looks like we've brought something similar in again in the shape of John Ruddy, but that bit older, but that bit more experience, who can kind of push Newcastle goalies in the right direction. So you let me know your thoughts down below. I like it. There's the parts of that I like, because we are kicking it down the road. We're kicking the can just that little bit further down the road. Nick Pope is great. He's fine. We'll keep him a little bit longer. But we saw this season what happened when Nick Pope got injured, and the keepers we had in backup weren't ready. Dubravka wasn't good enough. Karius, I don't think, was good enough to even get a shout, really. Neither was Gillespie. When Dubravka was playing terribly, we kept playing him because there was nobody else. Unless I'm jumping the gun, but I don't think John Ruddy's there. Gillespie wasn't picked last time, so let's hope that Vlack or Dimos, our new Greek goalie, he is a capable number 2. That's my only worry. If Pope's fit all season, we don't have as many games this season, great. Let's go and spend that money on a position that we really want to spend it in. And one of those positions has been linked to striker. But as reported by a few different outlets this afternoon, it appears that Callum Wilson is set to stay at Newcastle after all, which I guess kind of makes sense coming out now, is that Wilson, I think, for many was one of the players that we possibly would have pushed for the reasons of PSR, but now we've gone and made 80 million in the last 2 days of 2 players and a staff member. Miggy's still being linked away. We could look, if you get 20 million for Miggy, you possibly try and get a little bit more than that. You're looking at 100 million. That over 5 years is 500 million. So straight away, we've found a few quid down the back of the sofa. As I've said many times in the last few days, by the skin of our teeth, we've found the answers that we needed. Do we need to let Wilson go? Or do we keep him for one more year? Do we keep Wilson and then maybe go and still look at another striker? Because I would do it. I think it was to have Wilson, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Isak, I don't really think makes too much sense to me. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin really was either one of the or with Wilson, another injury-prone striker, but at least he's a bit younger. I think if we're going to keep Wilson as a fantastic, probably second choice behind Isak when he's fit, but also bring in a younger striker who we can play with them. That lad we were linked with, the likes of a João Pedro, I really liked him. I don't think he's on our list anymore, but I think he's a good example of what Newcastle could look to bring, and then you try and spend a bit of money on that right wing position as well. And I think we're still very linked with centre backs too. So yes, since my video this morning, Newcastle haven't waited around. Fair enough. I think Lewis Hall was always written that it would be happening. But boom, John Ruddy's coming out of nowhere. 2 goalkeepers in 24 hours. What's going on? And I'm hoping this is just the start. Would I? I partly wonder I don't know if Murdard's got his card out now. He's flashing the cash now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what comes out of it next. And I'll mention it. Obviously, the Gordon stuff, that's still swirling around a little bit this afternoon. I mentioned already that the reports was that Newcastle did, unfortunately, have Gordon lined up as an effectively a last resort sale if we couldn't get other stuff done. What's true and what's not, but the Telegraph are reporting that basically Gordon had his head turned and was not against the idea of it happening, but just because, that's the thing, as much as it was a possibility, and maybe he was like, oh yeah, well, if you're going to sell us, then I guess I'll go and try and get myself a really big contract and a huge joining fee, It's not like we were trying to send him off to Saudi or like we are with Miggy, it was to another good Premier League club, who I think he, obviously he's a Scouse lad anyway, so it's going back home, but just because it was a possibility, I don't think that's going to really hurt things for us. I think he's a sensible lad. I think he's probably one of the most sensible lads out and with the England team, talking actual sense compared to a lot of the others, especially Southgate. So yeah, that is slightly, it's one of them things where, as I've mentioned already, if that's happening behind closed doors, I don't mind. But it was very, very public that Newcastle are offering players out. And as I've said, I think we've learnt lessons this weekend. And I'm just hoping that doesn't, come back to bite us in the backside of goes, well, actually, was there an offer on? And is there still a possibility? Having said that, Newcastle don't have to do it now because we've found out a different way to do it. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below as we kind of hopefully now are moving past the selling stage of our window and into the buying. Let some people go, some decent money go, and as I mentioned, the player trading over 5 years, etc., has hopefully not only done what we needed to do for the end of the last June, but has put a bit of cash in our pockets ready to push on this summer window. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. As I mentioned, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Loads going on. Part of me thinks, can it get any wilder after what's happened this weekend? You've got to think it'll cool down for a few days, but who knows? We will find out very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Drop a like, as I say, and subscribe to the channel. Help me hit that 50k. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.